What's up, y'all? Today we're making 4 different types of baked potatoes. So first we're going to make a loaded chili potato. We're also going to make a nacho style potato. We're also going to be making a pizza style potato and a broccoli cheddar potato. And I want to say that this video is in partnership with Undeniably Dairy and Midwest Dairy. And I want to say thank you for this partnership to continue spreading nutritious information to everyone. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to chop up this pepper. As you can see, I cut off the top and I took the seeds out, and now I'm just finely chopping this pepper. And if you like it to be this size, you can stop here, but if you want it to be diced into really small pieces, you can turn it around as you saw I did and keep on chopping it. And make sure you watch out for those fingers, y'all. We don't want no fingers being cut. And then we're going to set this aside. And we're going to get our onion in a second. And with the onion, all you want to do is you want to cut off the pointy parts on each side, and then you just make a little indentation and you can peel off the skin as you saw I did. And we're just going to thinly slice this onion, same way that we did with our pepper, and then we're going to turn it around so that way we can dice it. But same thing as the pepper, if you like it to be bigger slices, you don't have to do this part. Now I will say I always get teary-eyed with onions, and if this happens to you, of course you can walk away. But the other thing you can do is rinse your onion off after you peel it, and that'll help to decrease the teariness. But listen, y'all, it still got to me. It still got to me. I still got teary-eyed, as you can see. So right now we're making some ground beef. If you look at the recipe said to use Italian sausage or any type of sausage you may have, but we're using ground beef because sometimes it can be a little easier. You don't have to chop it up or anything. And this is a great alternative for any of the recipes you see. So you can add this to the chili if you want to. You can do this with the pizza. There's a lot of different things you can do with ground beef. And the other thing too, if you don't want to use ground beef, you know, if some people are like, I prefer ground turkey. Listen, you can use whatever you want. You don't have to use beef. You can even use chicken if you want. But for this recipe, we're going to use beef, especially for the pizza potato, because a lot of times people like to have sausage, okay? So, if you're thinking about what seasonings to use, I would suggest onion powder. That would be a good one to add. And you can get this at the dollar store. You can get this at Walmart. You can get it for a lot of different places. Now, another one that you can use as well is Italian seasoning. Now, Italian seasoning has seasonings such as marjoram, oregano, thyme, rosemary, basil, all the different things that you might find in, let's say, a marinara sauce. And the other one that you'll have to get to is garlic. Now, garlic is great with Italian food. So with like a pizza potato or anything that has that type of flavor, garlic would be great. You don't have to get something this big. I just use a lot of garlic, so that's why I have this. And like I said, you can find all these seasonings even at the dollar store. You can find them at any of your local grocery stores for a decent price. Okay. All right, so we're gonna make our broccoli cheddar potato, and I like to get frozen broccoli because it's just easier to keep. You know, when I keep it in the fridge fresh, it's more than likely not going to get used or it's going to get rotten. So I like to get frozen, but use whatever works for you. So we're just going to put it in our pan with a little bit of oil. You can hear that sizzle. And if you look on the recipe card, it says to saute the broccoli. Saute basically means you put a little bit of oil in your pan. And I'm using a cast iron pan, by the way, but use whatever pan you have. And you're just going to cook whatever vegetable that you have in that little bit of oil until it cooks down. I have my stove on medium high. So we're going to cook that, and we're going to add a little bit of seasoning to that. So I'm going to use some salt. And I'm going to use some black pepper. I'm a little bougie, y'all, so I got my black pepper grinder, but you don't have to use this. I'm just a chef, that's all, okay? And we're going to add a little bit of garlic powder. Now, if you want to be extra, you can always use fresh garlic if you want, but the point of this cooking video is to show you how to make some quick recipes very easily. So we're going to use the garlic powder. Just sprinkle a little bit of that on there. And we're just going to toss it around. That's all sauteing is. You just turn your food around in the hot oil until you get the desired texture that you want. Now, I like my broccoli with a little bit of browning on there. But once again, you can cook it to the desired texture that you want. Now, I'm going to add a little bit of onions and a little bit of peppers to this broccoli. Just a little bit. And I'm using yellow onions, but you can use whatever onions you like. Or if you don't like onions, don't use the onions then. I'm going to use a little bit of green pepper as well, just to add a little bit more flavor. And with onions and peppers, once again, thinking about texture and how you like your food, I like my onions and I like my peppers really cooked down. So I'm going to cook this until the onions are translucent and the peppers have a little bit of browning to it, just like with the broccoli. And if you really like your onions really cooked down, you can even do the onions and peppers first before you add the broccoli. That's actually the way that I usually do it. I'm going to turn the heat up just a little bit. We're just going to continue cooking this. And I'm actually going to get my lid now. I would say this part takes about 5 minutes at the most. And you know, if you're really, really in a hurry and you don't have time to even do anything on the stove, another thing you can do too is you can get your frozen broccoli and you can put it in a glass container, put a lid on top, and you can put it in the microwave. Whenever I cook frozen broccoli in the microwave, if I'm using a whole bag, about a 16-ounce bag, I'll cook it for maybe about 8 minutes. And you don't even have to add any water to it because it's frozen. So there will be a little bit of steam that is built while you're cooking it. So that's another suggestion too. Just put it in the microwave, y'all. We got easy dinner. Okay. I'm gonna get the lid real quick so this can cook. All right, y'all. So if you look at your recipe card again, you can see that it says optional. You can add some chicken. So I'm actually going to add some rotisserie chicken because once again, the point of this cooking video is to show you how you can cook food very quickly and very easily. Okay, so you can get a rotisserie chicken from any grocery store nearby, but if you find that there are no rotisserie chickens near you at any of the grocery stores, you can easily use frozen chicken, or you don't have to use any chicken if you want. You could just use the cheese, but I'm going to use a little bit of rotisserie chicken just to add a little bit more flavor. All right, y'all, so as you can see, the broccoli is browned and the onions are translucent. So we're going to add this to our baked potato, and then we're going to add some cheese. Okay, so let's get that. Look at that. That looks so good. We're going to add this to the baked potato, and of course you can add any butter, sour cream, salt, anything that you want to add to your baked potato. I already mashed mine up and added a little bit of something to mine, but just to keep in mind. All right, the next thing we're going to add is some cheddar cheese. Add any seasonings, add any dressing, and voila, you got an easy meal. Okay, so this is our first one. This is our broccoli cheddar potato. All right, y'all, so the next thing we're going to make is our pizza style potato. So think about all your comfort food together in one dish. That's what this is going to be. So I added some more oil to the pan, and once again I'm using a cast iron skillet. Okay, and I'm going to add my onions. Hear that sizzle? We're sauteing them again. Add our onions, and I'm going to add some green peppers. And the great thing about this cooking, like I said already, is that you can add whatever you want. So if you don't like onions, don't add onions. If you want to add garlic, add garlic. Add whatever you want. Tomato, spinach, you can add whatever you want. There are no rules here. So we're just going to saute these onions and green peppers down. I'm actually going to add a little bit more. I really like the taste of peppers. And we're going to cook this down until the onions are translucent and the peppers are nice and soft with just a little bit of a char on there. So that'll take about a couple minutes. All right, so now we're going to add our mushrooms. And like I said, you can add whatever you want. So if you don't like mushrooms, that's fine. But this just gives you some nice color, and it's a great way to get vegetables in. If you're a person who's like, I don't really know how to add vegetables to my diet, it's a great way. A lot of people don't think of eating vegetables as adding things like onions and peppers to their food, or even salsa. Yes, but salsa can be counted as a vegetable too. Think of like pico de gallo. It has tomatoes and it has onions in it, okay? All these different things. So we're going to cook this down some more. And whenever you're seasoning your food, the the thing that I always do is I like to start with seasoning that doesn't have salt first. So that way I can make sure I'm getting all the flavors. Sometimes it can be really tempting to try to season your food with only salt. And salt is definitely delicious. That's why we all use it. But when you try to add different seasonings, you can discover that there's a lot more flavor that you can add to your food that you might have not thought about. So garlic powder is one we're going to use. And we already talked about our Italian seasoning as well. So we can use those in this. And black pepper is a great one too. But the secret sauce, y'all, is smoked paprika. I love smoked paprika. It gives your food a nice smoky flavor. It's literally one of my favorite seasonings. So I'm going to add a little bit to that. It's not on your recipe card, but it will make your food really good. So we added a little bit of smoked paprika. Now we're going to add some garlic. Now we're going to add salt because we added all of our other ingredients. And I'm going to add some black pepper as well. All right. Look at all of those vegetables, y'all. All these vegetables. All right. We're going to give that a few more minutes, and then we are going to add our marinara sauce. So we're going to add our marinara sauce. And with all of these recipes that I'm making, the other thing I want to say too is if you're like, I don't have the time to do this on the stove, just like we talked about with the broccoli cheddar potato recipe, you don't have to do this on the stove. Now this one would be a great one to do in a crock pot if you have a crock pot. So basically all I would do is add all these ingredients to a crock pot, and you can cook it on low. I would say on low for maybe about 5-6 hours at the most, because it's mostly vegetables. It's not a lot in the crock pot, so you don't need to cook it at 8 hours. Or if you did it on high, I would say about maybe 3 hours to just kind of check it and see. So you can put this in the crock pot as well, and that'll turn out really great. I do that all the time when I'm like, I just don't have the energy to cook. I put it in the crock pot. It saves the day. So look at this. Beautiful, delicious. Delicious, delicious. And what is the point of all these vegetables? Okay, when we eat more vegetables, it increases the amount of vitamins and minerals that we're getting. It also increases the amount of fiber that you're getting. And all of these different things in these vegetables, they're helping our gut. Okay, and what is the importance of having a healthy gut? Well, it helps us to decrease inflammation in our body. It helps us to have a better immune system so we don't get as sick. That means less doctor visits, less hospital visits possibly. It can help us with various things. And these are also different ways to maybe even get our kids to eat a few more vegetables too. Adding marinara sauce to it, adding cheese to it, adding smoked paprika. And I want to say as well, even though we're working with potatoes for this recipe, if you're like, Jill, I don't like potatoes. I do not like potatoes. Don't use potatoes. You can do the same exact recipe without potatoes. You can do it with pasta. You can do it with rice. You can do it with any of that. Now, I already have some cooked ground beef, and I'm going to add a little bit to this pan. But this part is optional because we are adding the cheese. So they don't take too much energy. It's not like making mac and cheese from scratch. Okay, so trying to keep it simple here. But as you can see, this is our pizza style potato. And if you like your pizza style potato with more marinara sauce, you can add that as well. But now we're going to add our cheese, the best part. And there you go, a pizza style potato. All right, so now we're going to make our nacho style potato. Okay, y'all, so same thing. We're going to use our onions and our green peppers. We're going to saute them. Okay, so now we're going to add our canned beans. And now I'm going to add the water. And the water, just make sure that the beans don't burn in the pan. Okay. And like I said before with all these recipes, you can mix and match based on how you like it. If you want to use that rotisserie chicken from earlier, or you don't have to add any meat if you don't want to, because we are going to add the cheese to it. And for this one, because we're making nacho style potato and we're not making chili, we're going to cook this without a lid until all of the liquid evaporates. And I'm going to add our taco seasoning packet. I'm going to add a little bit of salt to this, just a little bit. There's nothing wrong with salt. That's the thing I want you all to remember too about all of these cooking recipes that we have, is remembering, as you teach your kids about eating healthy, that all foods are okay to eat. And rather than teaching your kids that foods are good or bad, thinking about it more about boundaries, okay? All right, y'all, so we're going to finish making our nacho style potato. I'm going to use some cheese, and we're basically going to do cheese, then a little bit of the nacho mixture, and then some more cheese. And this one is great too. You can add some salsa on top. You can add guacamole. You can add whatever you want. Whatever you like on nachos, you're going to put it on the potato. So we're just going to add a little bit of that mixture. And because the mixture is nice and hot, it's going to melt the cheese. So it's going to be really good, y'all. And once again, we have tons of vegetables in here. We have our beans that are loaded with fiber, okay? All these different things are going to help us and help our children as they continue to grow, keep them healthy throughout the school year, keep their immunity strong. And a little bit more cheese. And the last thing I'm going to add is some salsa on top, because everybody likes a little bit of salsa on some nachos. Here is our nacho style potato. All right, y'all, so we are working on our last recipe for today. We're making our chili style potatoes. And basically, I'm just using the same mixture that I used for the nachos, but I just added a little bit of water to it. You can add some broth to it too, just to have that chili texture. And I added some smoked paprika to it as well, but that is completely optional. I just like the flavor of that, but you can just stick with your taco packet if you want to do that, just to keep it simple. All right, so we're gonna take that mixture. You can see, look at that. Doesn't that look good, y'all? And we're gonna cut this potato open. And this is great too, because this is something that you can also make in the crock pot. If you look at your recipe card, I have a crock pot recipe to make your own chili. When I was in my 20s, I used to make chili actually every week, and I would eat it for the whole week because it was just super cheap. I would just get beans, put them in the crock pot with some ground beef, some peppers, some onions, and I literally would eat that for the whole week because I was in such a tight budget. But this is a great thing because you can use this to make tacos if you want to. You can eat this with rice. You can do a lot of different things with it. And beans are a great and cheap source of protein as well. So the ground beef is optional because of that. And I'm going to add some cheddar cheese on top. And I use black beans for the nacho style potato and the chili potato, but you can use whatever beans you like. You can use red beans, whatever beans you like. And there you have it. You have your chili style potato. Look at that, loaded chili and a potato, y'all. And there you have it, your 4 types of baked potatoes. Now, if you've never cooked a potato in the microwave, make sure that you puncture holes in it with a fork or a knife. And the other thing too is if you're trying to cook maybe like a medium-sized potato about this size, it takes about 4 minutes per potato. If you're adding multiple potatoes at the same time, you can add 2 extra minutes per potato that you add. And there you have it. Once again, I want to say thank you to Undeniably Dairy and Midwest Dairy for sponsoring this video. Have a good day.